Hello, Robert Kiyosaki. I'm going to be talking the big macro picture right now. What makes Rich Dad education different? If you go back and look at, I grew up in Hilo, Hawaii, and there's no rocket scientists coming out of Hilo, including me. It's a little sugar plantation town. But by the time I was 9, I was called stupid. And all the way through school, I was called stupid. So by the time I got to high school, when I was 15, I flunked out of school because I can't write. And ironically, I'm the #1 writer in the world today. You know, it comes to money. And then I flunked out my senior year also because I can't write. And it wasn't that I couldn't write. You see, comes to my second book here, the cash flow quadrant. E stands for employee. S stands for self-employed or smart people. These people become the doctors or the lawyers and accountants. These are big business, Donald Trump and myself. We're entrepreneurs, Elon Musk. And this doesn't stand for investor, it stands for inside investor. These guys invest from the outside. If you don't understand what I'm saying, get the cash flow quadrant, because 99% of the people coming out of school are educated here, not here. So what we do at Robert Kiyosaki Capitalist Education is we educate on this side, and we drive these guys nuts here. These guys buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I don't touch that garbage. So an insider here creates the deals. We're capitalists here. Where's Donald Trump? Is he on this side or this side? And who is he fighting right now? This side here. When you look at the world, the people that hate Trump is on this side. And this is a copy of I wrote 2 books with the man. He's a very good man. But this is the capitalist side. So I'm going to show you this little video here. It's my hero. His name is Sam Kinison. And I went to see him in person. Sam was a Baptist minister. And then he saw the light. He says, I should be a stand-up comedian. So this is Sam talking about going to school and being stupid.
Oh, look, honey. Yeah. This is hers. Oh. See, it says Sarah. I think it's the best, don't you?
Oh, honey, come on, don't say that. They're all good.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Giebler. I'm Carl's best. I'm Sarah's teacher. And, well, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
You know, it's so exciting to see parents get involved with their children's education. And, well, it's especially good to see Daddy here, huh?
Oh. Well, what kind of father can't spare an hour and a half for their little princess, you know?
Oh, you'd be surprised, Mr. Giebler. You'd really be surprised. Well, now, about Sarah. Frankly, I've had some difficulty with her. I've actually had a problem communicating with her. I think it's because she's so stupid. That's just my guess, but,
She's only 4 and a half. How can you tell?
Oh, I can tell, Giebler. I know a lot of dumb, stupid, idiot kids. And she's really stupid, man. She's really stupid. I mean, I'd like to be a light at the end of the tunnel for you, but she's... Look at this drawing. Look at this drawing. Now, she drew this morning. You must be very proud.
Well, yes, we are.
Could you come here? Come here. Maybe you can help me. Do you see that up there? Can you tell me what that is?
The sun?
Yeah. Could you settle a bet for me, Giebler? Do you see a smiley face on there? Yes or no?
No.
Well, according to stupid Sarah, it has one.
So I'm going to give you some of the macro, the big pictures. What do these guys study? I mean, you guys know what they study. You go to school, you get a job, you work hard, you save money, get out of debt. I mean, how stupid is that? Pay taxes. Oh, how stupid is that? But these guys, that's smart. You got to pay taxes. But they don't know the history of money. That's the problem. The US dollar is debt. So every time you say get out of debt, you may not know it. The US dollar is created by debt. So this here is a 1971. If you're going to be a capitalist like me, you're going to be a Marxist, you want to be a commie pinko, go to school. You know, most school teachers are communists. They're Marxist. They just don't know it. They're good people, but they believe in giving people money. When the Bible says, teach a man to fish versus give a fish, but we give people fish. So they're socialist. Socialist, somebody who works and is paid to not work. And those are most of the bureaucrats. That's who Trump's running into. They're good people. Remember this too. All coins have 3 sides. You have heads, tails, and the edge. I'm asking you to stand on the edge here. Marxist, capitalist. Marxist, capitalist. Robert Kiyosaki and Trump over here. So I'll give you kind of the big picture of this whole thing here. Actually, it went all the way back to World War II. The history of money is, in 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank of America was created. The Federal Reserve is a Marxist organization because it's centralized money. I don't really care for the Fed. They're trying to end it. But everybody goes, oh, all these yo-yos of, oh, the Fed said this, the Fed said that, and all this. They don't understand the Fed is Marxist because it's centralized money. Capitalism is decentralized. So anyway, so they're saying, oh, this. So the Fed was created in 1913, but guess what else was created in 1913? The Internal Revenue Service, the tax man. Because for us to control, for the federal government, which is communist, to control our money, they had to control the money and taxes. So all the communists said they should pay taxes. If you cut in the Communist Manifesto, you should read this book here. America was founded on a tax revolt. It was called the Boston Tea Party, 1773. So we had a tax revolt, and that led to 1776 war. So I'm afraid right now, this is 2025. We're already at war in the Ukraine, which the Bidens are making a fortune off of. And we have Iran and the Middle East. And then you have China against the U.S. So I was just in the South Pacific. I was a Marine Corps pilot in Vietnam. Went back to my old squadron in Okinawa, and the big map was Taiwan. They're already planning for war with Taiwan, if all the invasion beaches and all this. So anyway, that's part of it. We're probably going to go to war, but that's why Hunter Biden and all that stuff and Joe Biden, they worked for Burisma. They worked for the communists. Most Democrats are communists anyway. But that's why Biden took down the wall. Trump put the wall up. Biden takes it down. They let millions of undocumented, they let drugs flow across. Those are Democrats. They're not really Americans. They're communists. They're Marxists. They want to give people money and all this stuff, but they're on this side. So you go to school here. I'm going to be a communist. You come here. You're going to be a capitalist. Very few make it here. Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. What do you want to be when you grow up here? Going back to again, in 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank was created. Marxist, centralized banking. Up until then, it was decentralized banking. So in 1913, they create the Federal Reserve Bank. They also had to create the Internal Revenue Service, taxation. And if you've seen this before, when it comes to taxes, these guys pay 40%. This is worldwide. So you make $1,000, you'll pay $400 in taxes. S's, or small business people, pay 60%. And what happens to many stupid people is they quit their jobs, start the business, go into a higher tax bracket. Not that smart. So they work harder and harder, make more money, pay more taxes. Big business like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or Donald Trump, 20%. And I's, 0% in taxes legally. So when you look at this whole thing, what do you want to be when you grow up? Marxist, capitalist. The trouble is, these guys, you go to school, you're trained to be a Marxist. Over here, you're trained to be a capitalist. These people believe in labor unions. As Marx said in Communist Manifesto, workers of the world unite. Labor unions. My poor dad was head of labor unions. My rich dad was anti-labor unions. So if you belong to a labor union, you're probably Marxist. Your choice, But the capitalists don't care for labor unions. It's just little differences here. Remember, all coins have three sides: heads, tails, the edge, stand the edge here. So when you look at this, I'll give you the big macro on this whole thing. They started taxing people. And then what happened was World War II broke out, and America, Japan went against us, Germany went against us, and Italy went against us. And America by itself, plus England and Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, had to go take out Hitler, who was killing the Jews. And so when they took out all that stuff, well, Germany, Italy, and Japan were pounded into oblivion. They got bombed to hell. They had nothing. But America was the strongest country in the world now. So again, they had what they call a Great Reset, what they talk about now. The Great Reset was 1944. It was called the Bretton Woods Agreement. In 1944, America agreed to be the reserve currency of the world. In other words, the reserve currency meant everybody in the world, rich or poor, communist, not communist, you had to exchange in dollars. But that gave the United States, not only with all the manufacturing in those days, because Germany, Italy, and Japan were bombed out, so was Russia. So America had all the factories and we had the reserve currency. Everybody had to trade in dollars. That caused the problems too. And America exploded. We became one of the richest country in world history, 1944. But the reason this is important was a guy named Richard Nixon and these globalists. Globalists like people who say, let's open the doors to everybody in the world. Let's make everybody rich. So Richard Nixon in 1971 says we're going to open the doors to China. So Nixon claims to be a Republican, but he was really a globalist. He was trying to make we're going to make China rich again. So 1971, I crossed the border from Hong Kong into China just to see what China looked like when it was still a poor country. And this is the difference. When I crossed the border into China, the Chinese, I don't mean to be racist, but they look like Filipinos. They were skinny, small, and dark brown because they're agrarian. They're always working in the fields. But on the Hong Kong side, the Chinese were fat and plump. White guys, white Chinese. Brown Chinese on the communist side, white Chinese on this side. But China opened the door and the whole thing blew up. So thank you, Nixon. And then I think it was around 1990, around there, another communist guy named Bill Clinton allowed China to join the World Trade Organization. So China took off. But meanwhile, back in 71, Nixon had already taken the dollar off the gold standard, which allowed us to print money and give money to the rest of the world because everybody was trading in dollars. China would, produce these magic markers here, ship them to us, and we give them fake money. We'd print dollars and pay them this. It gave America this huge unfair advantage, according to Charles de Gaulle, the head of France. We were paying for world products with fake money. And the whole world economy blossomed as long as everybody was on fake money. So that was 1971. Around 1990, the communist wall falls, and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton opened the door to free trade. That sucked the jobs out of America. All the jobs went, the Midwest started to die, the Rust Belt, they call it today. So here comes Trump now, back in 2025. He's trying to get the jobs back. The trouble is, Americans don't want low wage. China, they'll work for $1.70. Americans want $25 an hour. We're screwed anyway. But Trump's doing his best right now. Meanwhile, the national debt of America is now, today's May 2025, it's now $37 trillion. The interest payment on our debt, thanks to Tricky Dick Nixon and all these characters want to open the world to free trade and the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 and all this, America's bankrupt. So today, we can't even pay the interest on our debt. We have to print money to pay interest on the debt. So that's like you having a credit card and you're deeply in debt and you go home and print money to pay the interest. That's what America is doing. But that goes all the way back to 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement, then 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So today, America is the biggest debtor nation in history. Japan is a little bit bigger in debt, but the difference between Japan and America is the world holds US dollars. The world doesn't use Japanese yen, because we're the reserve currency after 1944. This is all world history. You're going to be a capitalist. You have to know that stuff. So that's why this 1971 video, what happened to the US dollar under Tricky Dick Nixon, a Marxist, although he claims to be Republican, we're in serious trouble today. So that's why today you'll hear me saying buy gold, silver, Bitcoin. You don't want to save US dollars or Chinese dollars or pesos or Canadian dollars, Japanese yen. You want real money, gold, silver, or Bitcoin. And that's the difference right now. So we've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It said here, these guys here, they work for money, they save money, and they try and get out of debt, and they pay taxes. Losers. They went to school, they have high-paying jobs. They're fucking losers. They're working for money, saving money, trying to get out of debt. Credit cards are burning up. And these guys here have a whole different philosophy. So why do you come to Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad? Because you want to be on this side. You don't want to be on this side? Stay here, go back to school, get your doctorate degree and let's say become a medical doctor or an accountant or an attorney and be a loser. Thank you.